President Trump promised unity before his State of the Union last night and then delivered civil war. Here was the warning shot.
An economic miracle is taking place in the United States, and the only thing that can stop it are foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations. If there is going to be peace and legislation, there cannot be war and investigation. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, the president shut down the federal government over his border wall, and now he's threatening to shut down the Congress. He's telling it, you're not going to go anywhere as long as you're causing me trouble with these investigations. Sound familiar? We heard a similar call from Richard Nixon in his State of the Union in 1974.
I believe the time has come to bring that investigation and the other investigations of this matter to an end. 1 year of Watergate is enough.
Well, President Trump's call for Democrats to back off their investigations comes as the new Democratic majority this week ramps up its oversight of the administration. And today, the House Intelligence Committee voted to send more than 50 unredacted Russian-related transcripts to Special Counsel Robert Mueller. And last September, by the way, when that committee was still chaired by Devin Nunes, Republicans blocked Democrats' efforts to do just that. Well, today, the new Democratic chairman, Adam Schiff, also announced the committee will pursue an expanded probe now, not only into Russia, but also President Trump's all foreign financial interests. President Trump responded to that development with a personal attack on Schiff.
This morning, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, said that he was going to launch a deep investigation into not only Russia, but...
Did you say Adam Schiff?
Adam Schiff.
Oh,
said
never heard of him. He has no basis to do that. He's just a political hack who's trying to build a name for himself. It's called presidential harassment, and it's unfortunate, and it really does hurt our country.
He never heard of him, but he's a hack. Anyway, Schiff responded to the president's broadside on Twitter, writing, I can understand why the idea of meaningful oversight terrifies the president. Several of his close associates are going to jail. Others await trial, and criminal investigations continue. We're going to do our job and won't be distracted or intimidated by threats or attacks. Well, I'm joined right now by Democratic Congresswoman Jackie Speier of California, who sits on the House Intelligence Committee, Michael Beschloss, NBC News presidential historian, Donna Brazile, former DNC chair, and Betsy Woodruff, politics reporter for the Daily Beast. What a quartet. We're going to get a lot of perspectives here. Jackie Speier, Congresswoman, I think this is interesting. That was a threat last night for the president. It was a threat, right?
There's no question that it was a veiled threat. What was most interesting is how he framed it as presidential harassment this morning. If anything, it was congressional harassment because it was seeking a quid pro quo, meaning if you want legislation and peace, you've got to stop with the investigations. So I think he, once again, has got it all wrong when it comes to harassment. He's only been the perpetrator most of his life.
Michael Beschloss, in a big picture way, is this unusual for a president of the United States to say to all members of Congress, if you use your oversight role involving me, you're in trouble. I'm going to shut your place down, this Congress down?
It's a complete shock. We haven't seen anything like this in history, Chris, where a president basically says, you know, you do not stop the investigations that may show my legal or even criminal liabilities. Maybe I'll just start vetoing all sorts of bills and, you know, shut down the well-being of the American people. He's essentially saying, I am thinking of leveraging the future of America, our national security, our economic health, in order to stop this legal and criminal potential investigation into me. We've never seen anything like this before.
It's like a protester in the old days saying, no justice, no peace.
No,
you know?
That's
Remember
right,
that line?
right. I was absolutely.
But this is the most powerful person on earth saying this.
Well, essentially, Chris, he's telling members of Congress who takes an oath of office to violate the Constitution. The Constitution explicitly say that members of Congress, they have the legislative body, have the oversight responsibility of the government. And he's telling members of Congress that they should not do their job. The other thing, Chris, as you well know, last night he extended an olive branch, and then on the other hand, he had a whip. He said, basically, you do what I say. He didn't call for unity. He called for obedience. He wants members of Congress to basically follow his lead and not the lead of
What was that little preamble about? Why do you think he went went through that little foreplay, if you will, politically. Said, I'm going to be nice, let's be nice, and then put the knife out there.
Well, let's talk about visions, not vengeance, results, not resistance. Basically, and then, of course, he did the little, and you socialists there. We know that, well, we've been called everything in the book. Look, the members of the Democratic caucus will do their job. They will uphold their constitutional responsibility, but they will hold this administration accountable.
He didn't just call you socialist. He condemned you to being like the guy in Venezuela, that dictator down in Maduro. He said you're part like that. It was rougher than that.
Well, you know, this president is known for his insults.
Anyway, Democratic leaders in both chambers seized on the president's threat. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said it suggests Trump is scared by the investigations.
What is the president afraid of? If he had nothing to hide, he'd shrug his shoulders at these investigations.
And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said her members won't be intimidated either. Quote, it was a threat. It was an all-out threat. It's our congressional responsibility. And if we didn't do it, we would be delinquent in that. Let me ask you about this, Betsy, because I can't quite figure out the game plan here. Now, last week, Matt Whitaker, the acting attorney general, said this whole Mueller thing's going to be over soon. Well, we don't know what that was. That intimidating? Some people think it was. Then the president comes out last night and says, shorten this thing up, get it over with. Does he think shortening the Mueller probe by a month or two, which is all he could possibly do by a little intimidation, is going to keep Mueller from getting the goods on him? Is that what he thinks?
That certainly seems to be the subtext of his public comments on the Mueller investigation. The reality is, most of the reporting indicates this investigation is coming toward its apex. We know Mueller's investigators are working on a report, sort of bringing together what they've found out. However, this move that the House Intelligence Committee has taken is really important. They're turning over all these transcripts, and if any of Trump's officials told things to Congress that are in contradiction to what they told Mueller's team, that means those people could potentially be in criminal territory. Members of the House Intelligence Committee, who me and my colleagues have spoken with, have said they believe it's possible that several people very close to the president, including, they say, possibly the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., and Eric Prince, the Blackwater chief, could have lied to their committee. And that's part of the reason they've long been eager to get these transcripts in Mueller's hands.
So let me go to Congresswoman Spear on this. It seems to me that the special counsel, Mr. Mueller, will now have in his hands, if he doesn't have them already, unredacted transcripts, not just something that's hidden from. Nothing is hidden. He gets it all. Is there anything in there you think he might be surprised by that is perjurious?
Well, I think what is most important is that once he has these transcripts, he is then in a position to act upon those transcripts if there has been any actions that suggest that there has been perjury to Congress. You know, I think what's really important is that we realize that lying to Congress is a felony, and it will be charged, and those who do that are going to suffer the consequences. The only thing that the Intelligence Committee is seeking is the truth. And the president should not be worried if there's nothing to hide about. We are always concerned about the fact that the Russian engagement with the president before he was president may have something to do with his bromance with Vladimir Putin since he's been president. It's very disturbing to me that he would tear up the interpreter's notes when he had a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and then in subsequent meetings didn't have an interpreter there at all. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was some discussion about the Moscow Tower for Trump, because that letter of intent has never expired. So you could argue that that is still pending.
Well, the House Oversight Committee Chair, Elijah Cummings, whose committee has broad jurisdiction to investigate this president and his administration, said Congress is simply doing its job. Here he is.
It's not about partisan investigations. We are doing what is demanded by our Constitution. That is to be a check and balance on the executive branch.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.